Aloha! What's up, everybody? Man, as work gets going, the days turn into weeks, and the weeks turn into months, and just time flies. So, apologies, but I think you're going to particularly enjoy this episode. I had the privilege to sit down with Mr. Anthony Briggs. We call him Briggs here, and affectionately so. This man is mysterious, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. My conversation with him was nothing but a pleasure, and it was awesome to get to know him, even more than I already did. He has some very telling stories and some experiences that I think you'll find particularly enjoyable. This man portrays several characters that are nothing to be messed with. He's a big man, and his characters are such as well. He brings them to life, and he's exceptional in them. This guy he surprise you. Kind of a big teddy bear, and we love him. This guy, Anthony Briggs, is very much the professional that everyone sees him as and expects of him. You'd also be surprised at how very family-oriented he is and how much love he has for those around him. He's not your typical man in the sense that it's not so hard to get through that shell and that external surface. Once you're in, and he will defend you with... I think anything and everything that he can. He's a very special guy, and it was a privilege to sit down and speak to him. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. I know I did, and sit back, relax, whether you're in the car or otherwise, and enjoy the conversation, and let me know what you think. All right, without further ado, Mr. Anthony Briggs. All right. Aloha, welcome. This episode rather, is Anthony Briggs. He is our guest, and... yeah, looking forward to it. So, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You've had a chance now, which I say maybe is a little fair, but at the very beginning of this, I recorded a bunch of these conversations, and not everybody had an opportunity to hear them before.
Exactly.
So, they didn't know what was coming, but you kind of have an idea.
Exactly,
That's okay, so it's all right. So, as always, we'll start at the beginning.
Okay.
Where were you born?
I was born in Baltimore, Maryland.
Baltimore, Maryland. All right. And how long did you live there?
I've been there, still there. I mean, do you count tour or?
Yeah, so you never left?
No, I never left. I'm still there.
Okay,
yep.
So born and raised, whole life.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Awesome. When you were born in Baltimore, did you find yourself, I guess, is it Baltimore proper, like downtown in the city?
Well,
or is it a suburb?
So you have Baltimore County and you have Baltimore City. So it's kind of like, it's weird. It's kind of separated into like different regions. So like technically like you have Maryland, and then like central Maryland, like in the middle, like the main city would be Baltimore, but then like you have the city part, and then you have the suburbs, which we call the county as well. Okay. But it's still technically Baltimore as well.
Baltimore.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So back home it's like you got to differentiate, are you from the city, are you from the county, that type of deal. Yep.
And you?
Well, it's funny, most of my childhood I grew up in the city, but as I got in my adult life, I moved on to the county. Yep.
Okay. Nice.
Yep.
The suburbs.
Exactly.
Does it count as suburbs?
Yeah, suburbs. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough. Cool. So mom and dad also are they from Baltimore as well?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Same.
So never left. That's
Nope.
awesome. And I already know, but dad, what did he do for work? What does he do?
So I was raised by my stepdad.
Okay.
And he actually works machinery. He works for a sugar plant called Domino Sugar. Okay. You see it in like a lot of grocery stores and things. Yeah. And he actually like he works the machinery and boils the sugar and everything.
Wow.
So yep.
Okay.
And my biological dad was a police officer and in the military as well. So,
okay.
Yep.
Nice.
So I was primarily raised by my stepdad, but then when my adulthood, my biological dad and I kind of like rekindled a relationship as well. So
okay.
So it's kind of cool because I got two dads. That's how I got it. Yep.
Win. Yeah, for sure. Mom, what does she do?
So my mom is in the medical field. Most of my mom's side of the family is in the medical field. So my mom, she has worked with children. So she's done pediatrics. She's also done, gynecology. So she's done that. And then right now she's actually into sport medicine. So she's actually doing, I don't want to say, she manages an office, but they take care of like athletes and things like that, because I know she works with the Baltimore Ravens as well. Like she'll
American
go
football team.
Exactly, yeah. She'll like do checkups and things like that as well.
Okay.
And some of the colleges she'll go. Her team will go and work with them as well.
But mom's a nurse, right?
She started as a nurse, but then she's still in school. So she's always in school.
Right.
But yeah, now she's more into like the managing. She's not even. I don't think she's actually physically doing it anymore. She just like has a team that does that.
Right.
Yep.
Well, she's graduated beyond that.
Exactly. Yep. And she also does like billing as well, so she can do the other side of it too, the business part and.
Multi-threat.
Oh yeah, so she's got all different. Like she's been all over the place with the medical field. She's done like drawing blood and like I said, kids and this. So she's all over the place with it.
No, that's one of the advantages of the I guess field of nursing.
Absolutely.
You can enter so many different options. So nice. All right, cool. Siblings.
Yes, so so I have a lot of siblings, but I grew up primarily with two. So like I said before, my stepdad. I grew up with my brother and my sister. My brother's the youngest, and then my sister's like the middle child. But also on my biological dad's side, I have a host of other siblings as well.
Yeah.
I didn't really grow up with them. I've seen them here and there, but when I got into my adulthood is when we started like rekindling that relationship. Okay. So a lot of siblings, but primarily raised with my main brother, my younger brother Ryan, and my younger sister Dominique. So
okay, yep. Nice. So as far as immediate, like what you consider close siblings?
Yes.
Oldest of three.
Yep, oldest of three. Yep.
Okay, awesome. So then, are you guys pretty close in age?
Yeah. So I'm 9 years older than my brother and 4 years older than my sister.
Okay.
Yep.
So there's a bit of a gap, but
Yep.
I mean,
not too much.
4 years, you're kind of a senior. She's a freshman.
Exactly.
So,
yep.
Yeah, that's not terrible. Are you between the three of you quite close as well?
Yes, we're absolutely close.
Right. Yep. Regardless of the age gap.
Exactly. Yeah, but especially my brother and I, like we are like the best of friends. Like it's so funny. Like he's 9 years younger than me, but it's funny because I guess because he's hung around me so much and my friends that he's kind of like an older, like he's very mature for his age, like extremely mature, that it almost throws people off. But yeah, we're really close considering the age gap. My sister and I mean, like I said, 4 years, we're definitely close, but. Yeah, just I always laugh about it because my brother's 9 years younger than me, and like we're just like tight as thieves.
Nice,
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, it's always nice when your siblings are some of your best friends.
Exactly. Yep.
So, good. Tell me about your childhood then. Was that well? Let me preface this by saying, having been to Baltimore, it's a rough city, man. Right? So
it has its moments. It definitely has its. Yeah, it definitely has its moments.
How was it growing up there? Because you said you grew up in the city.
Yes. Yep.
What was that like?
Growing up was interesting. I didn't have a bad childhood. Definitely interesting childhood, but not bad. As far as city, I really never got a lot of problems growing up in the city. Like I've seen things that you would see in any other urban environment, but nothing's ever happened to me. And honestly, nothing's really happened to me until I got older, until I was an adult. But like as a child, I was always running around the streets and riding my bike, and no one really bothered me.
You feel like that's pretty common though? Like the little kids kind of stay out of trouble.
I think so.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't think no one's really gonna mess with a kid like
riding your bike around.
Yeah, even though you have some situations, it's very unfortunate and sad where those kids are in between something and they get either shot or something by accident.
Crossfire.
Exactly. Yep. And I'm blessed to not ever have to been in that situation as a child. But like I said, as I got an adult, that's what things kind of changed and I started to watch my back more and things like that. But yep. But very, very fun childhood. I had a great childhood. Yep.
Do you remember? Do you have memories of, like you said, playing around the neighborhood and stuff like that? As I talk to different people, depending on where you live, whether it's out in the country or the city setting, urban, whatever, you find that you have memories of playing a lot with your friends outside, just running around the streets and playing games outside and whatnot? Or were you more the demographic of like, we go to somebody's house and play video games and stay inside? Are you an outdoor kid?
I did a lot of both.
Okay.
I did a lot of both, and it's funny because I still do a lot of the same things I did as a kid. So, definitely grew up with a lot of video games. Like I'm a big gamer, but I love being outside. Like I'm always outside, and then the martial art that I do requires us to train outside. So I've been doing that since I was a kid anyway. So I'm always outside doing stuff. I love like camping. Like that's like one of my favorite things to do: camping, fishing, like anything outdoorsy. But like I also like playing video games all day. So. Yeah, so I did did a lot of both.
Yeah, well, it sounds like very healthy then.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so then Along those lines, as a child, you said you started out as a kid doing martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
Was that your first real kind of love, so to speak? You dive into it, or
It was interesting because it wasn't really my idea in the
No.
beginning. Like,
Okay.
it was like my grandmother's idea, and like my uncle, he was already a martial artist, and he would always come over to like different events, and like he'd show me like a move or something, or show like a kick or something, and me, I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. I'm doing like a kick or something, but yeah, my grandmother, like I was a very hyper child, very very energetic, like
Nice.
and yeah, so like certain cough medicines I couldn't take because I would be off the wall.
did the opposite of what you
Oh
were.
yeah, like Robitussin. I remember my mom always talking about. She's like, I couldn't take like Robitussin because like for some reason I would just go off the wall with that. So I grew up as a hyper child, but yeah, my grandmother put me in martial arts because it was a part of my elementary school program.
Okay.
So she was like, I think it'd be a great idea if you do that. So I did it, and it was fun. Like it was cool. It was something to do, but. I didn't really start to get really serious into that until maybe like my teens.
Okay.
Like then that's when things started to change and like more of the trouble started to come out, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So initially, it was an outlet for your energy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
What specific martial art did you practice?
So I started with karate, Shotokan karate, like
Okay.
so just more like a very popular form of karate. And so I started with that, and then after I left my elementary school, I couldn't go to the school because I got too old, so I couldn't go to that same class. So I did like a year of Taekwondo because I was trying to find something that was like similar to that,
Right.
and did a year of it. Wasn't really a fan of it, like it just wasn't my, like I was just used to more, I guess it was just the way the class was run, like I don't know, just there were differences, and then eventually, it's so funny. I eventually found the martial art that I currently practice now, and I've been doing the longest, from playing a video game. Like it was so like the story is
awesome.
so it's so funny. Like there's an old video. So you remember Dreamcast, right?
Yep.
So like there was this game called Dead or Alive on there, and it had this one. And like for me, I still do it with video games. I like to play characters that I can relate to. Like, it's just easier to like. I'm like, oh, that guy does karate. I did karate. Like we play with this guy. So I would pick this one character, and then like this other character kept going on there. It's just a super cool character, and I was just like, man, I like this dude. And like the characters would have like their martial arts names or what they do, like kind of like on the side.
Oh, yeah.
And so this one guy named Ryu Hayabusa, most people know him as like Ninja Gaiden. Yeah, so like he was in the game and it said ninjutsu, and I was like, what is ninjutsu? Like I'm like this 12-year-old, like what is that? Like I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
So I went to the library, took some books out and asking all these questions about it, and like people are like, what are you talking about? Because it's not really a popular martial art in America. And yeah, then eventually I remember one day my mom driving me from home, and I look to like my right, and like there's a school, and it's a school that's been there forever. It's a jiu-jitsu school, and it's been there for as long as I've lived in Baltimore. It's been in the same
Years,
area,
yeah.
and I never noticed it until I read these books, and like months later, I remember driving by it, and I see ninjutsu on the glass, and I'm like, wait, it's been here the whole time. So I go in there, and I just see these dudes. I go in there, and like these dudes just throwing each other around, and I'm like, all right, I want to do this. Like this is, but there were no kids, so it was just all adults, and I'm like, man, I want to do this or whatever. So like, my instructor comes up, big old blonde dude, Marine, comes up, and he's like, wondering why this kid is in there, like looking around.
How old were you at this time?
I was like 12.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was like, he was just like, and my mom is there, my mom's asking questions, and then my instructor's kind of like, well, we don't really accept kids here. This is more for adults because it can be, you see guys throwing each other around. It can be pretty violent and rough. And like, I'm like, no, I really want to do it. So I'm asking him questions, and questions that like only a person who has already been in that world kind of would ask or whatever. And I guess that's kind of what got me in, because my instructor was like, he tells me now, he's like, yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that you didn't, like I already had my information of what I wanted to do and asking the right questions.
Sure.
And I remember him telling me, he's like, well, you can try your first class. You might get hurt, and I'm like, all right, sure, I'll do it.
Deal.
Go to my first class, and my first class was outside, which automatically I was just like, wait, I've never trained outside with a martial art. And like we didn't even do like martial arts type stuff like punches and kicks, we were like climbing trees and like rappelling out of the tree and rolling on the ground. So it was just different. And I was like, man, I really like this. And then been doing it ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a very interesting martial art. Like
all thanks to a Dreamcast video game.
Oh, yep, from a video game. Yep. And it's funny because
awesome.
to this day, that character, that video game character is like my favorite video game character of all time because it shaped, who I am today, which is,
Awesome. Yep. Yeah. Have they remade or re-released that video game?
Oh yeah, there's like a lot. I think it's like Dead or Alive. I know I have one on my Xbox One, so yeah, there's current ones, and
is your character still on there?
Still on there.
That's
awesome. I still play it. Yep.
You reach out to Xbox or
I know, right?
Like, hey man, that's awesome.
Exactly.
Hook the little meters up to you. And
oh man, that's like a dream of mine.
That'd be awesome.
I really want to do motion capture like that. That's like a lot of reasons why, like the tricking and things like that. Where like, in my head, when I'm tricking, I'm a video game character. Like
that's great.
Yep.
That we'll get to this, but that answers a lot of questions for me. So or thoughts that I've had. So that's interesting. So then, when you see that and you get into it at 12, right? You're hooked.
Exactly.
Presumably, right? And you carry on. Do you leave the taekwondo, karate? Like, do you just not ever delve back into that, or is it kind of mixed in as you carry on?
Actually, so like the school that I train at, we actually do have a karate system in there. So I don't train the same karate that I did when I was younger, but still a version of it, still the same basics and things. So I still do that. And as far as taekwondo, I wouldn't necessarily say I practice or train taekwondo in the sense of the martial art itself, but because I have a background in tricking, which is a lot of kicks, which is what taekwondo focuses on, I technically still train in the kicking element of.
You can hold your
own. Okay. But my thing with martial arts is I think all martial arts have value. So I don't really, I'm not the guy that's like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm like, no, like I want to learn everything because I feel like that's what a true martial artist would do is just like take. Bruce Lee said it, take what's useful, like
adapt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So ninjutsu, you incorporate weapons as well?
Oh, there's a lot of weapons.
Okay.
There's more weapons. In fact, it is a system based on weapons. So even the hand-to-hand stuff is not even like we have a rule. It's like you only use your hand-to-hand to get to another weapon because you're always having some sort of tool or like weaponry or something. So there is a lot of emphasis on weapons.
Right.
Yep.
So some of our conversations, a little research says ninjutsu is not a new martial arts.
No.
By any stretch.
No, it's very old.
Yes.
Very old.
And it can be quite advanced. And so from 12 to now, what is your current rank within your martial art?
So right now I am currently Sandan, which is 3rd degree black belt. But I can get into the politics later, but there, like in ninjutsu, there's a lot of politics. So like you can belong to one organization and leave another organization. So that's where things get interesting because in one organization, I'm a 2nd degree black belt. In another organization, I'm a 3rd degree black belt.
Okay.
And then there's also what we have, we call them Menkyo or Menkyo Kaiden, which is like a mastership of a specific school system. Because ninjutsu is an amalgamation of just random other Japanese school systems, and the cool thing is once you become a black belt, you can focus on whichever school system you want to. And one of the school systems, actually, not only do I have my 3rd degree black belt in the ninjutsu as a whole or the organization, I also currently hold a rank of a 1st level mastership in one of those specific school systems.
Nice.
Yep.
Obviously the vernacular coming along with that would seem to indicate it's not easy.
No.
How long would you say, if you had to guess, it took you to
get a
obtain
black
that?
belt? To the black belt or the mastership?
The mastership.
Well, before you can do that, you gotta get up to black belt. So it took me 5 years to get to black belt, and then I believe because I got my black belt when I was 18, and I got my mastership when I was 19. So 6 years.
Okay.
6 years. Yep.
Yeah, that's no small feat.
No, not at all. And you got to travel, and it's just so much. Like it can be very intimidating. The martial art itself, and it's interesting because like back home, we're trying to find ways to get more people interested in the art because right now it's not like it's never really been a popular art. And right now you have MMA, BJJ, karate, taekwondo, judo, like all the Muay Thai, all these other arts that are flourishing right now because MMA is making it very popular, which is amazing.
Sure, yeah.
And but it's because of that, it hurts a lot of the old martial arts like ninjutsu because a lot of people see that it is obsolete. And I personally don't believe that it's obsolete. I do believe that a lot of the things that are involved with it can be obsolete because like we don't use the same tech. We use different technology now, so you're not gonna need to use some of the tools that they had because we have other things that we can get the job done with. But I do believe the philosophies, the strategies, and the tactics can still be used in all walks of life, even to this day. So
it's interesting because for every martial artist, regardless of their discipline that I've ever spoken to, there's some common themes. One being, again, discipline. Also, just respect as well. In learning not only to respect other martial artists, but your opponent, your teammate, and
exactly
whoever else that you're training with. There's a certain reverence that's involved in a lot of martial arts.
Absolutely.
And it seems to be just part of the culture. Is that something that has to be taught, or do you just kind of, for lack of a better term, assimilate into the culture and assume that that's just how things are done?
I think it's definitely taught. It's definitely a type of programming. But I've also seen that people can be in these same environments and they just completely disregard all of the above. So like they don't have respect, they don't have discipline, even though they could still be in the martial arts. So I think it's I definitely think it's a programming, but I don't know. I've just, like I said, I've seen the other side of it as well, and I can't understand it because I'm like I didn't turn out like that, but I'm like I don't know why this person would turn out like that. Could be an egotistical thing, or it's always something underlying. Because I have a lot of friends that do martial arts, and some of my friends, I'm just kind of like, why are you thinking like that? But I'm like, maybe it's because the experience that they have may be a little different. So
yeah,
yep.
Okay. One thing I've learned, again, having lived in Hawaii for so long, the exposure and interaction with so many Asian cultures. Humility is something I think, especially in our country, that's I don't know if it's overrated or underrated per se, but especially in the martial art world, you can be humbled very, very quickly.
Absolutely.
Whether you have a prideful attitude or not, not everyone is created equal, and there's a lot of discipline, like we talked about, that comes along with that.
Exactly.
Being humble yet strong is something that I think, as you're talking about, can carry on outside of the martial arts as well, in your personal life and business life and professional life as well. Do you find that that's something that is reflective of participating in martial arts for so long, or did you get that pretty early on?
I'm gonna say I think I got it. I want to say I got it pretty early on.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure being an adolescent, I'm pretty sure I had my moments, but I definitely, by the time I was 18, I definitely had a different understanding of I guess the world than a lot of my peers at the time. Sure. Just there's a lot of things I just didn't do because I understood the consequences and things like that. So I think I got that at a younger age than most people because of martial arts. And Bruce Lee says it. He says, I might say it wrong, but I know he was talking about understanding your own morality. I'm sorry, understanding your own mortality. So it's like, it's easy to get humbled when you understand that you're not the bigger fish type of deal. And I know for me, I learned at a very young age because I was this 12-year-old training with grown men. Like, so I came into it already just getting beat up and thrown around and grappled. Like, it's just, so I never really grew up with any type of ego because it was already beat out of me at a young age. So, yep. But that's the beautiful thing about like martial arts. It's martial arts like that, where especially grappling, where you get humbled really quick. Like, there's always a bigger fish. There's always someone smarter than you. There's always, like, even to this day, like I'm always going to, even with tour, I try to go to any like martial arts schools that I can possibly get to. Most of the time, I try to stay in my own avenue, which I'll go to like BJJ, because I love grappling. And like those guys, like when we were in Mexico, Like, oh man, just getting tapped out left and right. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, like you're always getting humbled, but it's a beautiful experience because you like, even with me getting my ass kicked in Mexico, I learned some things because those guys taught me some things. So now I can use it on other people when I'm grappling. So,
Absolutely.
so yeah, I'm one of those guys where I actually like losing. I like failing. Like because you learn from failure. You don't, like I don't really have a prideful nature. Like if I fail, I'm like, great. Now let me learn from it so it doesn't happen again. So, yep.
That's really interesting, and you've kind of touched on this already before we even get to anything else in this conversation. It's a common thread a lot of times, especially within this industry. As I talk to people who say, auditioning, for example, and they say, man, sometimes you go to audition, you don't get the job.
Absolutely, yep.
And in my mind, like it would be just crushing, perhaps, especially if you really want that
Exactly.
job. And so disappointing, but I hear it over and over again, the mentality or the process of saying, yeah, but I just got a free class.
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
Man, I just learned something, a skill set, or I see something else that I hadn't before. And again, it comes back to maybe it's just within this profession, or I don't know, but within what I would argue is traditional sport, that's not always the mentality, is to take a negative and turn to a positive and say, hey, I didn't get that role, or didn't get this part, but boy, what I learned so much.
Exactly.
Or what an opportunity that was just to even have been seen by some of these people, right? Whereas you go to like a basketball tryout or something like that, and like, nope, you're cut, and you're like, oh man.
Exactly.
Right, man, screw these guys. I'm so much better than them, and there's, as you say, there's an ego that can get attached. And perhaps, as you alluded to, maybe even within martial arts,
Absolutely.
or any sport for that matter.
Absolutely.
But it seems to be a common denominator among a lot of the cast of the show that we're currently on. And maybe that's saying something. That's why you're all here.
Yeah, maybe.
Because
Yeah.
you have that attitude.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
So there's something to be said for that. So as you're talking about different schools, walk me through your childhood and high school years. Did you enjoy school?
Oh man. Well, so middle school, not so much.
Yeah.
I actually got bullied in middle school.
Okay.
And so previously when we were talking earlier, I said I didn't take my martial arts seriously until my teen years.
Yes.
It was because of that experience.
Okay.
And so yeah, like middle school was kind of bittersweet to me. And then also had some family things going on as well. Okay. Death in the family, parents not doing too well as far as marriage and things like that. So things started to affect me a little more. Getting in fights in middle school. So like I said, I was, as a child, great. Middle school started like all these other things, I'm getting older. Then I got like, puberty happening and like just so many hormones and martial arts. And so like the only thing I know how to do is punch and kick and throw. So like, yeah, so middle school was interesting. After I dealt with the situation with my bully, confronting him and everything was squashed there. High school was a whole different experience. I loved high school. Yeah. Like high school was like, it's equivalent to like one of those like movies that you see. Like I had one of those high schools, where it's like parties and like, you got the jocks and the nerds, but I was cool with everybody. So it was like, like I was cool. I play video games too, but I work out with these guys. So like, it was fun. I got a lot of training done in high school too, because like not only was I doing my martial arts training, I didn't really play any sports in high school, but I trained with the teams. So I would train with the wrestling team and I would train with the football team, and because my best friend played football, and I would train with the track team. I would like run laps with them, and to me it was all going back to martial arts. So. So I was always an athlete. Like
surely there were at least some attempt to recruit you was made.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They wanted me to wrestle. They wanted me to play basketball because I used to play basketball. That's like my first sport. Like I can play I used to play point guard, but so they wanted to, but I was like, nah, my martial arts is
priority.
Yeah, it takes priority over it. So.
Good for you, though. Yep. Because that'd be really easy to succumb, especially if your best friends are playing on the team.
Absolutely.
Like, man, might as well. What the heck?
Exactly.
Play that.
Yep.
Not to say you didn't have friends in the school, martial arts, but yeah, that's.
It's just I was having way too much fun with the martial arts. Like it was just the experiences, so many experiences with that.
Nice. So then high school, as you said, you kind of worked out with a lot of the teams. Mm-hmm. You had good experience with the nerds and everything else. Mm-hmm. Did you have a favorite teacher?
Favorite teacher? Let me see. I had a couple couple of favorite teachers.
Okay.
My workshop teacher, Mr. Anastasi, he was pretty cool. Like he's just a wacky teacher. Oh yeah, and then I had my geometry teacher, Mr. Miller, who was another one. He was just a wacky dude, man. Like he made class fun. Like it wasn't, even though like math to me always like bored me. Like I'm good at math, it just bored me. I'd rather write. Like I'm more of a like English and creative writing was more like my type of deal.
Okay.
But yeah, I had some wacky teachers. Like those two were definitely my favorites.
Do you know if those guys are still there?
I think it's funny because my brother just graduated a couple years ago, and I know Mr. Miller is because he had Mr. Miller. My brother had this, and we always laugh about it. He had
awesome.
him. Oh yeah, actually he had Mr. A too. Yeah, he actually did have him because he was telling me that I remember when he first got in Mr. A's class, he was like, oh, he would always say, you're so much different than your brother or something like that. Because like me, I was just always just laid back, and my brother's just a little bit more rowdy. So yeah, but they got along, and so yeah, they're definitely there.
That's awesome. Well, shout out to Mr. A.
Yep.
Mr. Miller.
Yep.
Good. Nice. So, well, that kind of answers a question then, because I was curious, given your love and kind of just delving into this world, did your sister or brother kind of follow your footsteps at all, or any interests?
So my sister, no. Like she's a whole different. Yeah, she's not even martial arts. Nope, she didn't worry about it. My brother, however, he doesn't necessarily take it as seriously as I do, but he's always willing to like learn things and train with me. Like he can definitely grapple. Like that's one of the things we kind of do a lot. We grapple and wrestle a lot. So with that, he definitely learns. I'm always teaching him things like other strategies that I guess you would say not the hard skills but the soft skills. So like being aware of your surroundings, make smart decisions. You know, think tactically, think practicality, that type of thing.
Sure.
Because he's getting older. Like just things like that. He kind of follows. But I know now he's starting to get into like photography and like videography, which is perfect because I like to get my tricks and my moves recorded.
You like being
so,
on the other side of the that works out.
So it's perfect. So
Focus on me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, this next break, we're gonna do a lot of small projects. Just me and him, just have him record and me do some stuff. So
that's awesome.
Yep.
All the best for that. Man.
Yep.
So your sister, did she go more the opposite direction? She like cheerleader stuff, or what is she into?
She actually, her job now, she works with kids. So
cool.
She's like into like the school system, like teaching kids and things like that.
Didn't go medical like mom?
No,
Okay.
not yet. It's gonna happen. It's just every woman in my family, like they're just all in the medical field. Like it's just like a calling of some sort. Like, it's so funny. Even Danny, like she worked with my mom before we got on tour. She was doing phlebotomy and so like she was even going in that avenue. So it's just.
It's a fiance.
Yep.
Maybe wife by the time this releases.
Oh yeah, yep. In a month.
Nice.
In a month. Yep.
So it's kind of unavoidable for her.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, even my brother's girlfriend, she goes to Towson University, and she's in the medical field. So it's so funny. Like
maybe it's just the men in your family are attracted to women in medicine.
Maybe, yeah, it might be. Yep.
So maybe it's all your guys' fault.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
That's funny. So if we go back to your high school years, because those were the cheerful years for you, and I said, hey, maybe we meet some of your classmates. What was he like? How do you think your classmates would describe you?
So my nickname around school was Ninja. That's what they just called me.
Okay.
Like, and it started from.
That answers that, because I was going to ask if you had nicknames.
Yep, Ninja.
All right, so how did Ninja come from?
So my best friend Rob, you ever seen the movie Pest with John Leguizamo?
Yeah.
And his best friend was like Ninja, like that dude.
Yeah.
So he that was just what he started calling me in like 9th grade. Like just started calling me Ninja, and then everybody just started calling me that. And then of course with my martial arts background and everything, it just stuck. And like, it's so funny because like I have to actually refer to myself sometimes as Ninja as a 30-year-old man. I have to say, hey man, it's Ninja, because like they won't know if I say, hey, it's Anthony. They're like, who's that? Like they don't. So no one knows me as
there's
like.
Probably many Anthonys they have.
Exactly.
Only one Ninja.
Yep. So I got Ninja and Briggs are my two like nicknames. Like,
yeah.
That's what
Briggs makes sense, especially as your biological father, military.
Exactly.
Right? That seems to kind of be.
Exactly.
Everything else.
Yep.
Ninja though. I won't lie. I don't know that I've heard anyone ever call you that.
What, Ninja?
Here.
Oh no, you won't hear it here.
Yeah.
That's only
high school.
home. Like even to the like. It's funny. Josh and Dylan, have come to my house multiple times and they met my friends, and they'll tell you like they call me that. They don't call me.
What's up, man?
Yeah, that's just what. Yep.
That's awesome.
It's just so funny because even when I first started talking to Danny when we like years ago back in our first year of college, and even she was like, "They call you Ninja." I'm like, "Yeah, that's just what they call me." Like, just a nickname. Like,
that's awesome.
Yep.
So it's interesting that you've ended up where you are.
Mm-hmm.
But if we went back to your middle school, high school years, is this? I mean, what did you usually say? What do you want to be when you grow up? What did you imagine? What was the thought?
I just, man, like I don't know what I wanted when I was in high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I just knew I wanted to do something that I could use my martial arts for. Okay. So whether that be military, police officer, firefighter, stunts, like to me it was just, I had no idea. I know like the first thing I was trying to be like a cop, doing like security work and things like that. So that was like so I did like a couple of classes of criminal justice and things like that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's interesting because I never would have thought I would be in this position. Like, I didn't even know this was even a possibility. Like, it's so random, but even the whole audition process was random, like for me, like everything. But it's just one of those things. I was at the right place at the right time type of deal.
It's seemingly I get that answer a lot because so then the follow-up question would be like, obviously you have to go to an audition somewhere. Where was your audition for the show?
In Washington D.C., which is like 45 minutes south. Yeah. Yep.
Was that from your training gym, or how'd you hear about it? What happened?
So I was doing security, and one of my friends that I worked with, he saw an ad on Facebook that was just like Marvel Universe live auditions in D.C. And I remember him hitting me up the day before the audition, and he was just like, "Bro, there's an audition going on in DC. I know you like martial arts and stuff. You should go try it out." And I'm like, "All right, yeah, sure, why not?" So I asked my boss to get off the next day. He was really cool about it because at the time I was still pursuing like stunts and trying to get small things here and there.
Just little gigs.
Yeah, just little gigs, like local gigs, and so people knew that I was in that world, or at least trying to get into it. And so he tells me, he's like, "Yeah, there's an audition in DC." And I'm like, all right, I'll go. So then another friend of mine another stunt buddy, hit me up and was like, "Bro, you want to ride with me down to the audition?" I was like, "Sure, I'm off. Like, let's go." So we go to the audition down in D.C., met David Dersh, a couple of guys, and then,
He's a stunt coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And the rest is history.
Yep, the rest is history.
Did you find the audition to be quite easy compared to some of the training that you were doing, or was that new skill sets and new things, or was it all pretty familiar?
Honestly, everything was pretty familiar at the time because I remember at the beginning it was just like workouts, like doing push-ups and rolling back and forth like in like a line, so just more like drill type of things. So I was already used to that because we do that in my school. Like that's like our warm up is to roll and crawl on the floor and shrimp and things. So that's before class even started. So to me, it was very familiar when we did that. Then we got to the, I remember it was like the fight part where they gave us a fight. We had to watch and analyze and then recreate it. And then for me, I'm like, that's just no different than doing a kata. Like watch my sensei do something, then we go back and we try to do what we just saw. So to me, it was that was very similar. I got to work with my friend, so we've already got that chemistry already from working together. And so we did that, and then it was like show your skills, like a skill set type of deal. So it was like show what you can do. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna have a tricking session. I'll just show you some cool kicks and stuff. So did that, and then I think the final was like a multi-man fight type of deal we had to do, which same thing. It was just watch a kata or a series of movements, and then go recreate that series of movements. So the audition process was very familiar. Like I felt in very familiar territory when I did it. So
man, that's gotta make the whole process much easier as well.
Yeah, because you get some people get stage fright. Like I got a friend of mine who was telling me how he gets stage fright when he does auditions and stuff, and I'm like, it's interesting because for me, I'm like, I try not to get stage fright. I'm just like, it's just another day at the dojo. It's just training, So.
Just people are watching this time.
Exactly. Yep.
Sometimes a lot of people.
Yep.
Yeah. Man, okay, that's cool because again, as I said, from all the people I talked to, some people were just kind of fell in my lap.
Yep.
And for you, a buddy calls, says, "Hey, you should check this out," and here we are. So then that kind of leads me to the other thought or question is that there are a lot of people that may watch this and say, "Man, like that, how convenient." Do you find that social media is a really good avenue to find gigs like this and other things, or is this because not to hate on newspapers, it's kind of like a dying medium,
Right.
So
Yeah.
would you argue that there's a network of people and kind of let each other know, or is it just following the right people and stuff on Instagram, Facebook, and such, Twitter and whatnot?
I think it's more or less of networking with the right people, like making friends. Go out there, make some friends. Talk to people because you never know what type of information you might get. Like, another tactic from a video game. Like, go talk to get quests.
Yeah,
make
team up.
Yeah, team up. So like that's always been my philosophy. Make a lot of friends. You never know. Like some guy. I've gotten so many calls from random people like, hey man, you fit the description of something we're thinking about and you have the skill set. And I'm like, okay, cool, sign me up. So like, I feel like a lot of things that I get are just based off of like who I know. Like,
yeah.
Yep.
So it's funny, many years ago, as I was going through athletic training and trying to get a job and work at the level that I wanted to, I had a gentleman tell me that the common, I guess, saying is it's all in who you know.
Exactly.
And he said, that's absolutely false. Because he said, it's not who you know, it's who knows you.
Yes, I agree.
Because he said, I know a lot of people, but if they don't know me,
exactly,
it doesn't matter,
yep.
Right? So I think, again, this comes back to what you're saying, is like, the more you can network, the more you get to know people, become friends. People say, hey, yeah, well, that doesn't fit me, but matter of fact, this guy, Ninja, Briggs, whatever they want to call you.
Exactly.
Let me call him up because he would actually be a really great fit. And vice versa, you never know when somebody would call you, or you may offer that position to somebody else.
Exactly.
Like, I'm too big for that, but I know a guy.
Exactly.
You should call him.
Yep.
And I find in this particular world of performance, if it's like the mob, right? Like once you're in, you're good, right?
Exactly.
You know all these people.
Yep.
Getting out, I don't. Well, that,
exactly.
Right? Yeah. So man, that's really cool. I think that the idea that if you're in the right place, the right time, put yourself out there. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that seems half the battle is just being available for
exactly.
those kind of things, right?
Oh yeah, be very, very flexible. You got to be, and then like adaptation is a big thing. I'm realizing with anything, but especially in this industry, it's like learn how to take a beating because you might not get all the things that you think you're gonna get. So it's just keep moving forward, persevere, truck forward, and just that's
physically and psychologically.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Man. Okay. So then, kind of along the lines of what we're talking about, when you go through and say, "Man, this is how I fell into it," or whatever, do you remember a specific moment along this timeline where you said, "That's what I want to do"?
I didn't. I think I realized it when we were in boot camp for the first year, like during the build of the show, and just
you already hired then.
Yeah, I was already. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until I actually saw it, and
Yeah.
I'm like. Cause like I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Like I like me and Danny had an apartment. We were, I was teaching martial arts full time. She was doing phlebotomy, so we already had like a kind of a nice thing going. And then like, Durst calls, and we're like, "Whoa, what do we do?" And she's like, "Go do it." And I'm like, "All right, I'll try it out." So it was kind of like that thing. And then eventually, cause I was leaving my family behind, leaving my girl behind, like got rid of our apartment. So it was just a lot of changes that happened so fast. And then I was hoping the whole plane ride down there, I'm like, I hope it's worth it. I hope it's worth it. Get there, meet everybody. And the first day we did like the boot camp, and I'm like, okay, this is exactly what I want to do. Just the atmosphere, like just only worrying about, my training and how I can make a character. Because to me, I'm like, coming from a gamer, like when I'm portraying a character, I'm in a virtual world in my head. I'm like, I have a very vivid imagination. So for me, I'm out there. Like when I'm in Drax, I'm in it. Like I'm a video game character at that point. That costume moves me, like that type of deal. So that's when I think the first official show is when I realized, this is definitely something I want to get into. Yep, I'm 100% in.
So from the flight down, hoping, now looking back, was it worth it?
Oh, absolutely worth it. It's weird because it still gives me like, it's still surreal to me even after 2 years of doing this show. I'm still like in awe because every time I go home, I just pick up where I left off when I go home. Like when I go home, so it's like weird. It's like I'm living two different lives here.
Everything's on pause and then start back up.
Like it's so crazy. Like I'll go home and like still hang out with the same friends, just hanging out, going to a movie, doing like normal stuff that people just do, and then like Next thing you know, I'm like, oh, got to fly to Puerto Rico in like 2 days, and then I'm back here, and then everything's so fast again, and then we'll be back home again, and I'm just like, so it's super surreal for me. Like I never would have thought I would have been in something like this, and then it's so worth it. Like it definitely pays the bills.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's paying for me and Danny's wedding. So we're paying that out of our pocket. So just to even say that this job allowed us to do that is more than enough. And then the traveling, like you can't beat the traveling. Like that's my favorite part. Like just to be in Puerto Rico, like it's what? I've never been to Puerto Rico.
Matter of fact, we're gonna pay you to go to Puerto
Absolutely,
Rico.
yeah. Like, and then the funniest thing is, before all of this, like Danny and I, like what we wanted to do for our honeymoon was backpack through Europe. Like that was always our dream. We get married in a month, and then later on we get to fly to Europe to work and to. I'm like, what? That's
12 weeks in Europe.
Yeah, that's a win-win situation right there. Like,
absolutely.
So, yep.
No, that's spectacular. I often find this personally, and I assume everybody does, and it sounds like it is, that it's almost like you said, you live this double life, and not in a negative way, but it's very hard for me, and I imagine, and so that's my question to you is to go home and explain to someone, right? Because when I was hired, I think, and the kind of the common conversation is, you kind of have to figure it out and feel it out. It's not for everybody.
Exactly.
Right? So you go and you travel, and it sounds great. Like, oh man, you're going to pay me to travel the world and perform in front of millions of people.
Right.
Literally tens of thousands of people every single week see you perform. And it's kind of this like, oh, there's this dream job for a lot of people. And everybody's like, no, that sounds terrible.
Exactly.
Right? But to go home and explain to your friends and family and say, someone says, hey man, like what have you been up to? What do you do, right? How do you explain to people what it is? Or what do you say when someone says, what do you do for a living?
Oh man, it's interesting because some people don't even know I'm on tour. Like I'll go back home and they're like, what do you, like same thing, what have you been up to, man? It's good to see you. And I'm like, I'll just be working. Like I try to be very humble because I don't want to seem like I'm bragging. Like that's a big part, right?
Yeah. Not everyone has that ability to travel and see the things that we see. Yeah. So
like, so it's like, I really sometimes, a lot of the time I kind of like, yeah, I've been, I just been working. And they're like, oh, what have you been doing for work? And I'm like, all right, now I got to tell you. Right. Yeah. So I'm telling them and I'm like, well, I work for a traveling stunt show called Marvel Universe Live. And they're like, wait, what? That was here like last year. I took my kids to go see it. You were in that? And I'm like, yeah, like, who'd you play? I played Drax. And they're like, wait, like, it's so crazy. Then their whole world is just like, then I'm showing them pictures and I'm like, they're like, how long are you home for? I'm like, oh, I'm only here for like a week. I got to fly to Puerto Rico or something like, and they're like, what is, like, it's just so interesting when, like, especially a lot of my, like my close friends know, like and then it's cool that like I have some castmates that can come to my, my house and everything. So like to hear all of us talk about it, and then they're like, man, it really is like you say. So they pretty much got the gist of it. But like it's just always the other people that are kind of like, I haven't seen in a couple of years or something, like, or old coworkers and things that are still at the. And that's another thing. I feel bad because like I'll still see coworkers at the same place.
The
same job. Like when I was working security, Danny and I, just the last break, we went to one of the locations, and I saw one of my old security mates, and they're like, "What have you been up to, man?" I'm telling them, and they're like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "Yeah, we just got back from Mexico City," and they're like, "Wait, you've been doing this the whole time?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's kind of why I left this job," type of deal. So. But yeah,
you've seen their brain kind of explode.
Oh, it's always so funny just seeing like a part of them they believe it because they're like, well, they always say it, they're like, you're always flipping and doing stuff, so like you're eventually gonna be in movies and stuff. So they always kind of had this idea.
Sure.
But like just to tell them exactly what I've been doing, they're like, wait, you're really doing that? And I'm like, yeah, like it's a reality now.
Yeah,
yep.
Absolutely. That's awesome. It's such a fun, and I understand what you're saying, and hopefully that's conveyed to the person watching or anyone watching. It's like there's this kind of hesitancy to be super hyped and excited about what it is that you do and share it, but not come off like bragging or like rub that in,
Yep.
Because I think at least you and I share that same feeling, and I think a lot of people within the show in particular, is that we're so invested and we love it so much, and you say, this is so much fun.
Exactly.
There's no way what your desk job You can't possibly be having the same amount of fun that
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
As
like
much as you love what you do,
you can't.
Right?
Yep.
That's really funny.
Yep.
So I'm glad that's not just me. That's at least you. So yeah, there's multiple.
Yeah, because I feel so bad. I'm like, I don't want to. Like I said, especially when they're at the same spot that I left 2 years ago to pursue this, and I'm like, damn, like you don't have any dreams or aspirations. Like you don't want to just, I don't know, like this is what you want to do forever. But yep.
Fair enough. So then let's carry on a bit more, and we're talking about the future, right? So another month from now, you'll be married. Based on your childhood and growing up and all of your experiences, is it any kind of idea or a glimmer of a thought to bring children into the world yourself?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, me and Danny talk about it all the time. Like, I'm excited to. Like, just because, like, I don't know, just because of all the experiences that I've gotten, I want to, like, I don't know, they're going to be like a little experiment to me.
Yeah.
Like, they're definitely going to do martial arts. They're going to play every sport, like every sport possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, like, just being able to travel and then having different cultures and things. Like, because Danny and I, we're talking about, like, when we start our family, we want to be a bilingual family. Because I feel like a lot of people should, especially going to all these, like, Spanish-speaking countries. And we're like, whoa, like they're right next to us. And there's a lot of Americans who don't even understand a little bit of Spanish. And I'm like, I mean, luckily for me, I was, blessed to have 4 years of Spanish back in school. So I had that to help me with it. But just to go to a place like Mexico and even here where you're kind of forced to speak it because not everybody's going to speak English to you. And just to see how important, learning this language is, or any other language, just to be bilingual, like, or have, just as a human being, like, just be cultured. And that's one thing I want to definitely bring to our family because of this job. Like, it's an eye-opener. Like, awesome. Just to see the world for what it really is. Like, it's so cool. Like, it's things like that you really can't explain to people who don't experience it. Like, just to be in another country and just, you have to learn Spanish. Like, you can't just ask for a glass of water and they're gonna look at you like, all right, cool. But you have to learn it, and I love that. I love that. But I know I got sidetracked, but yeah.
No, 100%. That's kind of the best part about what you're saying is when you're forced, because you've had an opportunity to travel now, and I've traveled a fair amount in my life, and it's hard to explain to someone the value in being dropped in a culture and a place where you maybe don't know the language entirely. You're not familiar with the customs and how people behave and dress and everything else that goes along with that. Being forced to be out of your comfort zone, how much not only do you grow, but you learn, and you just feel like, I want everyone to experience this.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. Yep.
And I think, and I put myself in the bubble sometimes as well as an American. It's very quick to be like, man, if you're going to come to our country, learn the language, right? Because you hear that all the time.
Exactly.
There's a lot of ignorance involved in that, but it's, I think, fair sometimes as well, right? If you make an effort to go to another city or another country, even if you learn a couple phrases.
Exactly.
Right? I know for myself, when I meet someone from another country within the United States, it's broken English, they know a couple words, I'm so much more patient and tolerant.
Absolutely.
They're at least making an effort.
Exactly, because they're trying.
And I think a lot of Americans, when they say, learn the language, right, it's that it comes off very harshly, but it's an effort to say, hey, at least try.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly.
And again, the side bonus of learning Spanish, for example, is when they're trying, well, hey, you know what? I've made an effort to help you as well, and this is going to make this interaction that much better.
Exactly,
right?
Yep.
So Kai, living and growing up, trying to speak some Spanish to him as well, it can only help. Right?
Exactly, I
There's
agree.
so many opportunities, whether it be the discipline that comes from martial arts or the skills that come from music and learning proper math and timing and coordination.
Exactly.
All these other things that come with it. Being so diverse, you would think, especially as a culture, as Americans, our country is made up of diversity.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So coming back to what you were saying, to be able to travel, to be able to expose your children and your family to so many different things is a blessing for so many reasons.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
completely understand why you and Danny are going the way you are and have that. I think it's a great plan.
Yeah. Yep.
For sure.
I'm excited for it.
For sure.
Yep.
So then I guess as I go down this, there's so many skill sets that you possess, right? and it may be really hard, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Is there something in your life or something that you've done, the single most prideful thing that you have? What are you most proud of, I guess?
Most proud of? I'm gonna say my observation and awareness.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing. Like even beyond the physical, like I'm a very cerebral type of person. Like I'm always thinking, I'm always trying to figure out problems, which is why I love martial arts because it's figuring out problems. Like it just the problem happens to be some sort of violent encounter that got to figure it out. Like I don't know, I love. I would take pride in that. Like my intellect. That's
awesome.
Yeah, more than anything. Yep.
Can't take that away.
Yep.
Break your leg or
yeah, exactly.
paralyze, whatever the case may be.
Yep.
But
do you have like masterminds that can find prosthetics and things? Like I'm such a huge like fan of the brain. Like it's so weird. Like if I was to go into medicine, psychology would be like I love watching, like talking to people and trying to figure out how they think.
Yeah.
Like like I'm big into it. I even like me and Danny play this game. It's like who can we spot? Like we'll like see out of everyone, like if we're in a crowd of people or something, everyone's like on their day off. I'll be like, that person walks like Jay. It might be Jay. Oh, it is Jay. Like, and then I'll be like, hey Jay. Like I'll always do that. Like I'll be like, oh man, that guy's sitting like Dylan right now. Like I wonder if that's Dylan. And me and Danny are trying to like figure out, but they'll be like way off in the distance, and we're trying to like place bets. Like who is it? But because like I know for me, I take pride in my observational skills because. And I guess just doing security work and things kind of help with that because your job is to scan and look for things. So,
be aware.
Yep.
Man. Well, from what I understand, I may be way off here, but there's a fair amount of that involved in martial arts, not only in the reaction, but kind of trying to be a step or two ahead of what's this guy or girl going to do.
Exactly.
And how do I prepare in advance, and your observational skills obviously reflected in your level of accomplishment within martial arts as well. So, yeah, that's massive. Cool. Yeah. And so I got to tell you, and it's, we spoke a little bit before turning the camera on. A lot of my motivation for doing this and speaking to people was to kind of get an idea and have some kind of record of my relationships with people and interactions. And it all started very, very, not that long ago, a couple months ago probably. We were still in a domestic tour in the United States. Right. And you and I are having a conversation. So you were partly to blame or to give credit for all of this.
Oh, really?
Because you and I were speaking, and I said, I had no idea that Briggs had all this experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Arts, right? Yeah, he's exceptional on stage, and like, yeah, you have this skill, but the depth of knowledge and experience you had no idea.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who I went to, but I was like, hey, man, did you know Briggs was like black belt and da-da-da-da? And they were like, what? And I was like, I know, right? That's freaking crazy. I had no idea. So then it sparked these gears in my head saying, man, there's probably a lot of things about a lot of people that people don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So full disclosure, a lot of the reason I did this is absolutely a reflection of the conversation that you and I had.
Oh, cool.
Not that long ago.
Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, oh man, that's crazy. So anyway, full circle. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
None of these conversations that I've recorded and the ones that I hope to do in the future would have happened had it not been for that. So
oh, that's cool to be a part.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
So thank you.
I appreciate it.
So in addition, I guess I don't always, but I try to give you an opportunity to kind of flip the script a little bit. And having seen some of these, this is an opportunity that I would say, because this isn't our first conversation, and it won't be our last. We've had lots of conversations.
Absolutely.
And as a matter of fact, just the other day I was saying, it's always interesting because there's always people in my office. And you're not in there a lot, which isn't a bad thing.
Right.
But every once in a while I come in, and a lot of people just come in just to hang out.
Yeah.
And we're laughing because I think I was talking to Danny, and I said, yeah, like Briggs will come in sometimes just to like hear. Because I have a tendency, especially when I'm treating someone or evaluating an injury, I like to teach.
Yes, exactly.
Why did this happen, and how does this happen? What's the mechanism? What happens? Blah, blah, blah. And it helps me stay on top of it as well because I'm forced to kind of regurgitate what I'm thinking as I go through an evaluation process. And a lot of that has to do with you sitting there and like, Jay, I've been thinking about this, right?
Yep.
And so we've had a lot of teaching moments. Right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So then the reason I preface all of that by saying, has there ever been an opportunity or time missed where you have always wondered something just about me or anything that you haven't had the opportunity to ask? Anything you ever wanted to ask?
I don't know. I feel like everything I've asked already, like, it's kind of like, cause like a lot of it is just like I've asked if you played sports, and I remember you, cause like I've always wanted to know how did you get into what you do, and I think you told me that, and then I remember telling you how my mom is telling me how to like, she was like, you should get into that, you would be really good at that. So like, like, well, what about you grew up in Hawaii? You grew up in Hawaii?
I always say like Hawaii is home for me. I spent more time there than any other state that I've lived in.
Okay.
But yeah, man, I grew up all over the country. I was born in Texas.
Okay.
My father was finishing a postgraduate school there. He got his doctorate degree at Texas A&M University.
Oh, okay.
We moved to Kentucky, got a job there. We moved to Utah. I have a lot of family there, so in an effort to be closer to grandparents and stuff like that. I have family all over the West Coast: Colorado, Utah, Idaho, Nevada. And so, again, moving west from Kentucky, closer to family. I lived in Michigan. I've lived in Montana. I lived in Hawaii. But all of these places, I graduated high school in southern Utah, but I lived in Hawaii for so many years that I consider that home more than anywhere else.
So is that what you usually go to when like we get our breaks and things?
Yeah, so Kai lives in Reno, Nevada.
Okay.
You know, so he lives with his mom.
Okay.
And so I ended up going back to California, which is where all my things are. So I say Hawaii is home, but my car is registered in California.
Right.
So then all my home and things are there, and it's closer to Kai, which is 99.9% of the reason I left the islands.
Okay.
To be closer to him.
That makes sense.
It's a long journey.
Yeah.
So to make that journey every several months to see your son.
Yeah.
It's easier to get in the car and drive.
Exactly. Yeah, because if you're in California, Nevada's like right there.
Next
so
door.
Yep.
Yeah, so couple hour drive is all. So.
Yeah.
For sure.
Did you start your because this isn't your first tour, because you worked with sports teams before, right?
Yeah. So when I began this job, I had said I'm used to traveling with teams and working, but usually there's a home and away schedule.
Right.
And
okay.
It's just all away.
Exactly.
There's no home schedule. Yeah. So yep, it's first touring experience as far as like constant travel, go. And now here we are, almost 2 years later.
Right.
So,
yep.
Time flies, man.
Which one would you say is your favorite, like, I guess I can't even ask it because they're probably all different experiences, like working with sports teams, working with us. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like,
that's a great question. And you're right. Like, there's so many pros and cons to everything. I learn a lot here, and I really enjoy it. I enjoyed working with professional athletes.
Right.
And so coming back to this tour after working at a high school, working with professional athletes again, as I can tell you guys all the time, I put you right up there with every elite athlete I've ever worked with. This job is unique because the diversity of the athletes.
Right, exactly.
Gymnasts, parkour athletes, trickers, martial artists, motorcycle riders, and the list goes on and on and on, all in one team.
Right.
That's pretty unique to me.
That's got to be interesting because you're always dealing with like different reasons for injuries or something.
Absolutely.
That's got to be really interesting.
Yeah, I find it most challenging because you work with like a soccer team, for example.
Yeah.
The mechanism for a lot of their injuries is very similar.
Exactly.
It may be repetitive in that, like, oh man, we got a lot of hamstring injuries or whatever, but I may see you, and the next guy that walks in my office is a motorcycle rider.
Yeah, he's gonna.
Next one after that, she's a dancer, and the list goes on, and so keep me on my toes.
Yeah. That's gotta be fun. That's gotta be really fun just to keep your brain like constantly moving because you never know what you're gonna get.
Absolutely. And the skill sets that are taking place on stage are so dynamic and different as well.
Right.
When I talk to the EMTs and paramedics before our show, I always say, in any given scene, it can seem very chaotic because it is.
Exactly.
So I said, pick Drax the Destroyer. Pick a character and follow them around, or pick a section of the stage and watch that, because if you try to watch everything, you're going to get lost.
That's interesting.
You're going to miss a lot. Now, this is, what have we done? 500-600 shows, whatever it is. I have a sequence that I follow.
Right.
I joke that I see everything, but having seen the show so much, I do. I notice it all.
Absolutely.
And that's reflected when I tell you guys, right? Hey, man, are you okay? And you're like, oh, I didn't think anybody saw that.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So I notice the anomalies more than anything else.
Exactly.
That was different.
Yep.
Sometimes you, for example, come back like, yeah, I was just trying something different.
Yep.
Like, okay, good.
But you were still aware of it, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, cognitive.
See, I respect it. I love that. Yeah, just always thinking, just being aware. I feel like that, like I said, I take pride in that because I feel like more people should. If more people were aware, I feel like we would have less problems. because a lot of ignorance happened because people aren't aware and things.
You're not wrong. Maybe
Yep.
your mom's onto something, man. You might find a joy in doing something like this.
Exactly. I can already see it. That's why I'm always asking you questions. Like, I'm like, why did you tape it that way? Is there a method to it? And then when you explain it, I'm like, that makes so much sense now. Like, it makes so much. And then even just having my own like ailments and injuries from just growing up and doing martial arts, it's always nice to have yours, like to understand what's going on in your own body. Like, because some people get hurt and they're like, they don't even know what happened or something, or they can't, figure out what to do because they just have no. It's almost like changing a tire. There are a lot of people who don't know how to change a tire, but they drive cars every day, and I'm like, yeah, like you walk around in your body every day. You at least know what's going on. Like
sound logic.
Yep.
Yeah. And then at this level, when we talk to athletes on your level, they would say, okay, if I can teach you how the injury happens, you are usually you're self-aware enough that you can say, well, that's how that injury happens. I can manipulate my body or my movement pattern or technique to avoid that.
Exactly.
Right. So that, again, maybe a bit selfishly, but that makes my job easier as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
If I say, hey, don't do that, and here's why, most of you can translate that and say, okay, well, not going to do that again.
Exactly.
And then there are less ankle sprains to deal with, or whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
So,
yep.
Flukes happen. We talk about that, right? Accidents happen. That's why they're called accidents.
Yep.
But, so, cool. Yep. Well, I always finish with a couple questions.
Okay.
There's a kind of rapid fire.
Okay.
And I try to preface this by saying I fully recognize these are plagiarized. A French TV host would always ask these, so we'll ask them of you as well.
Okay, cool.
So, tell me what is your favorite word?
Favorite word? Train.
Train.
Yep.
Of the entire conversation we've had, nothing would have ever allowed me to guess that.
Train. Yep.
Okay. Do you care to expound on that at all?
I don't know. Like, it makes me happy. That's
just to say train.
That's training is like if I had a word, it would be train. Just because any problem that I have, if I'm upset, if I'm depressed or something, like I'm just gonna go train. Like, and then the endorphins I get out of it, I'm always a happier person afterwards. So
I need to fully disclose that when you said train, I'm thinking like locomotive.
Oh, locomotive.
Train, like a train.
Oh, like a train.
So I was like, where did that come from? Like, holy cow. But in context,
yes, yep, like
train. Because you're just like, oh, I'm gonna go train, or let's training. Or
exactly.
whatever.
Yep.
So that's on me.
Locomotive.
If anybody else at home thought like choo choo train, I'm not alone. But
now I kind of wish it was choo choo, just to see how random that was. Train, like
that's so funny. So then the opposite. What is your least favorite word?
Hate.
Good.
Yep.
In that same sense, what turns you on?
Turns me on is
Everyone hesitates. So this is very open-ended. What turns you on emotionally, physically, psychologically? What is it that, if I said, what turns you on, what do you think of?
What turns me on? Intellect. Like, I'm attracted to intellect. I'm attracted to brain activity. Like, yeah, if a person's doing something stupid, I'm usually like turned off by that. I'm like, nah, that's just dumb. But like, if someone's doing something clever, like cunning or something like that, I'm like, oh, that was cool. Like that usually gets me going. Like,
nice.
Yep.
So then, what turns you off?
Ignorance. That definitely, that's the biggest thing. Yep, ignorance definitely turns me on. Or, okay, maybe not so much ignorance. Stupidity, because ignorance is like you don't know. Stupidity is like you know, but you're doing it against that. So like I would say stupidity is what turns me on. I can forgive ignorance.
Yep.
Like that. It's not a good taste because it's like, you should go search for knowledge, but stupidity definitely turns me off. I'm just like, why are you know the consequences, but you're gonna do it anyway? You're an idiot. Like that's yep.
Man. So this is the question that most mothers hate, but it's part of the questionnaire, so I'll ask anyway. What is your favorite curse word?
I use fuck a lot. I use that a lot. Like,
it's really funny.
Yeah, I use that one a lot.
It's really common.
Yep.
And, again, the better part of 2 years, like, that's not my wheelhouse. I don't curse, right?
Right.
And so when I always ask that, everyone, like, oh, they love that question.
Yeah, like,
it's really funny.
I try not to.
You know what? Yeah.
I try not to sometimes, but I got a dirty mouth sometimes. Like I can, like especially when I get emotionally charged or like something excites me, like it always comes out like that's fucking great. Like even though it's a great thing, like I gotta. Like I've tried the coin jar thing.
Yeah.
I've tried the like small punishment, but it doesn't work. Like it doesn't work.
Man.
I might have to do like the Fortners do, because they don't curse either, but they'll say like frick. They'll like replace it with something.
I do that a lot, right?
See, I might have to do that because I want to stop.
Yeah,
like something like that, but it's hard. Like just, and then I grew up with a lot of guys who were in the military, and that's all they do is curse. So like, yeah, it's hard. It's really hard.
What sound or noise do you love?
Oh, that's a good one. The sound or noise? I like quiet.
The lack of sound.
The lack of sound and noise.
Pure
Yeah, like, or maybe like wind or something. Like one of my favorite things to do, especially when I'm home, is like, because I'm a night owl. Like I'm always like up in the middle of the night, and it's my favorite time because everyone's asleep, and I'll sit outside and just hear the wind blowing. Like the moon will be out, and it's just no sound. Like you may hear like a squirrel chitter or something, but I love the sound of silence. Like.
That comes full circle,
Yep.
right? Your love for camping.
Yep.
Totally
Oh, I
makes
love
sense.
it. Oh, yeah. Just because I don't know, it's just peace. Like, it's just the only time I feel I don't have to do anything. There's no mental noise. It's just I can completely just zen out in nature. Like, just hear the sounds of nature. If I had any sounds, it would be that. Like, the sounds of nature or, like, silence. So.
I spoke to Antonio Jackson, and his was wind as well.
Wind, yeah.
Yeah.
There's something
Breeze.
soothing about the breeze, yeah. Yep.
Sure. What sound or noise do you hate?
Screaming. I don't like screaming.
No.
Yeah, I don't like, yeah.
Okay.
Like when, it just
don't like it.
makes me uncomfortable. Because
Yeah.
it's like I can't observe if I hear, like if I'm in a restaurant or something, I hear like loud, people just being loud over in the corner. Like I understand that, you're a restaurant and stuff, but like to me, it just throws me off because if I'm trying to scan the area to make sure I'm okay, like that is a distraction. So it's very distracting and so loud noise, like yelling is very, very distracting to me. And maybe just because doing security work and bouncing, that was always, you hear screaming and loud noises, that's, now I gotta, like,
Something's going on.
Yeah.
Other than your profession that you currently are in, what profession would you most like to attempt?
If stunts don't work out, definitely going back to security work.
Yeah.
Like that, it's a fun job. It keeps me on my toes.
Okay.
And like I said, I love figuring out problems and observing. And I also get to interact with a lot of people. Like when I was doing security work, I was always the cool one. Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, like I never really, cause I'm like especially if someone stole something, it's like, I could arrest them at my jurisdiction. I could like put handcuffs and things on them, but a lot of the times I'm like, I don't know, I'm very empathetic. So I'm like, maybe even though I don't agree with the activity of what you're doing, there's always a reason why you did it, And so sometimes I would just be like, man, look, just give me the object back and then you go about it. Just don't come back here for a while, lay low. Because to me, I'm like, let's make it easier. Because if not, then we got to wrestle around. I got to arrest you. And I got to do paperwork. Then I got to go to court. And like, let's just make this easy on both of us and just, keep it moving. So
Learn from your mistakes.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. What profession would you least like to attempt?
I don't want a desk job. I've tried it. I'm not a desk guy.
This show is just like common to everybody. I shouldn't say everybody, many people is like anything but that.
Yeah, I could not do it. Like, especially after having a job like this. I'll never go back to that ever. Like,
oh, that's
funny.
Nice. Well, so then finally, whether you believe it or not, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive?
Welcome home. Welcome home. Yep.
Nice. The final question that I always ask, and I always preface it, but I'll say it again, it's a bit morbid, but in the event that this is the last time that you and I ever speak, what would you say to me?
I would say persevere. Keep going. Like, if you fall 7 times, stand up 8. Just keep going. Like, that's always my motto.
That's great advice.
Yep.
That's great advice. You never hope that, right? And like I said, you and I we're going to talk again later today.
Yeah.
But I find that there are times I think, man, I wish I had had that opportunity to say
Right.
something. Or
Exactly.
whatever the case may be. So I like to at least extend that offer.
Absolutely.
So I guess in closing, again, I will thank you once again, not only for the inspiration, but for also just being a part of my life, for allowing me to take an hour or whatever it is out of your time. I know you you guys are always super busy, so I appreciate you
No,
making time.
I appreciate you having me. This is cool. It's just kind of like, yeah, talk, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Differences. We've had, like I said, conversations like this before, but we happen to record this time.
Exactly.
Maybe some other people will see it. So.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, man. Thank you
Yep.
again.
Thank you so much,
it.
Jay. Appreciate it.
We'll see you a little later.